Welcome to another Luck Scout bedtime story. In a small coastal village nestled between rugged cliffs and the open ocean, there stood a lighthouse, tall and proud. The lighthouse had been a beacon of safety for sailors and fishermen for generations. Its light shone brightly through even the darkest nights, guiding ships safely to shore through storms and rough seas. It was more than just a structure of stone and glass. It was a symbol of hope, endurance and resilience. The keeper of the lighthouse was a man named Elias, who had lived by the sea his entire life. For as long as he could remember, he had cared for the lighthouse, lighting its great lantern each evening and keeping its beam steady through the stormiest of nights. He had weathered countless tempests, watching the waves crash against the cliffs and feeling the wind howl as it tried to shake the lighthouse. But through it all, the light had never gone out. One autumn evening, however, a storm unlike any Elias had ever seen began to gather on the horizon. Dark clouds rolled in, and the wind began to roar, whipping the sea into a frenzy of churning waves. The storm seemed more fierce and relentless than any before, and Elias felt a twinge of doubt. Could the lighthouse stand strong through such a storm? As the first drops of rain began to fall, Elias climbed the winding stairs of the lighthouse and lit the lantern, its beam cutting through the darkness. The wind howled outside, but inside the lighthouse all was still. Elias stood by the lantern, watching the storm grow stronger by the minute. The waves crashed against the cliffs with such force that the ground trembled, but the lighthouse stood firm, its light steady and unwavering. As the night wore on, the storm grew even more violent. The wind howled through the cracks in the stone, and the waves seemed to grow taller with each passing hour. The lighthouse shook under the force of the storm, and for the first time in his life, Elias began to doubt. What if the storm was too strong? What if, after all these years, the light couldn't withstand the fury of the sea? Elias felt a deep weariness settle over him. He had weathered many storms in his time, but this one felt different. It seemed endless, as though the darkness would never break and the waves would never calm. He stood by the lantern, watching the light flicker slightly as the wind howled louder and louder outside. For a moment he thought of letting go. What if he simply allowed the light to dim? After all, the storm was too powerful. No ship could make it through such a night. But then, in the quiet of the storm, Elias heard a voice. Not from outside, but from within his heart. It was a voice he had heard many times before, a quiet whisper that spoke of resilience, of hope. "You are the keeper of the light," the voice reminded him. "No storm can extinguish what burns within." Elias straightened his shoulders, feeling the weight of his doubt begin to lift. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. The storm was fierce, but the light was strong. He would not let it go out. As the night wore on, the storm raged with all its fury, but Elias remained at his post, tending the light with unwavering dedication. He watched as the wind beat against the windows, as the rain lashed the stone walls, and as the waves crashed endlessly against the cliffs below. But through it all, the light of the lighthouse burned steady and bright, cutting through the darkness like a beacon of hope. Hours passed, and the storm showed no sign of letting up. But Elias no longer felt the same doubt he had before. Instead, he felt a deep sense of peace settle over him. The storm was strong, yes, but so was the light. And as long as the light burned, there was hope. Elias thought of the sailors out at sea, struggling against the storm, their ships tossed by the violent waves. He knew that they would be looking for the light, desperate for a sign that they were nearing safety. And he knew that the light of the lighthouse would guide them home, just as it had done for generations. With each passing minute, Elias felt his heart grow stronger, his spirit more determined. He would keep the light burning, no matter how fierce the storm became. The light had always endured, and so would he. As dawn began to break over the horizon, the storm finally started to fade. The winds began to calm. The rain slowed to a gentle drizzle, and the waves, though still powerful, no longer crashed with the same fury as before. The sky, once dark and angry, began to lighten with the first rays of the morning sun. Elias stood by the lantern, watching as the light of the lighthouse mingled with the soft light of dawn. He felt a deep sense of relief wash over him. The storm had passed, and the lighthouse had stood strong. The light had never faltered. Outside, the sea was still rough, but it was no longer wild and chaotic. The village below, once hidden in the darkness, began to come alive again as the sun rose higher in the sky. And out on the horizon, Elias could see the sails of a ship. Its crew no doubt grateful for the guiding light that had seen them safely through the storm. Elias smiled, feeling a deep sense of pride and peace. The night had been long and difficult, but the light had endured. And in that endurance there was hope. Hope that no matter how fierce the storms of life might be, there was always a way through. As the day went on, Elias knew that there would be more storms in the future, just as there had always been. But he also knew that the light of the lighthouse would always be there to guide the way, just as it had guided countless sailors through the darkest nights. The light was a reminder that no matter how strong the storm, resilience and hope would always prevail. As the sun set once again, casting a golden glow over the sea, Elias climbed the stairs of the lighthouse and lit the lantern once more. The night was calm and the sea was quiet, but Elias knew that even in moments of peace, the light was needed. It was a symbol of endurance, of the strength that came from within, and of the hope that carried people through even the darkest times. As you lie in your bed tonight, dear Luck Scouter, imagine the light of the lighthouse shining through the darkness, guiding you toward peace and rest. Let the story of Elias and the lighthouse remind you that no storm, no matter how fierce, can extinguish the light of hope that burns within you. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and let go of your worries. The light is with you, guiding you to a night of calm, soothing dreams, and a tomorrow filled with resilience and hope. Good night.